Hello everybody, it's Chris Bezanoy or Chris B once again with CSB Security Inc. and another informative video. Today we're going to discuss attestations, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Before we go forward, a little disclaimer, what I'm about to tell you is based on my experience over the past 5 years doing attestations, and I'm 53 so far, dealing with Health Canada back and forth, dealing with lawyers, RMIs, system designs, the whole 9 yards, traveling out to over 100 sites. It's based on my experience, but opinions may vary and experiences may vary. So, attestations, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I already spoke to attestations, how important they are to get your license with Health Canada, how they're not really going away. Go ahead, view those other videos. They are important for you to know. This video is more talking about the good part of attestations, the bad part, and the parts you just simply do not want to do. So let's start off with the good. The top 3 things that make your attestation good are: number 1, you're good to go. You're fully ready. You've got everything you need in your facility. FRP panel walls, if that's what you're using. You've got tables. You've got grow lights. You've got stainless steel tables. You've got your shredder, if that's the way you're denaturing. You've got everything you need. Cracks fully sealed, door sweeps, you name it. You are ready to go. We show up to site with a video crew. I immediately start filming. I'm done in a day and a half. We didn't have to wait around. Doors are hung, the whole 9 yards. It's a good attestation. That's number 1. Number 2, on the good side of an attestation, is you've got most of what you need. You have the key things that you need to get a license. So fully sealed rooms, access control, intrusion, video, the whole 9 yards. But you may not have tables. You may not have grow lights. We've gotten lots of people licensed without a table being on site. Sliding tables are going to show up soon, and they're just not installed yet. Lighting hasn't been installed yet. We have had people licensed with no equipment inside the facility. Health Canada doesn't necessarily like it. So let's be clear about that. It's not showing readiness the way you should. But there's nothing wrong with telling Health Canada, listen, we will have stainless steel tables. We will have sliding tables. We will have lights. Here are the specification sheets that we're issuing with our attestation. And they may or may not come back and say good enough, or they may say take a picture when they're installed. It doesn't change the fact that we've had licenses granted based on no equipment in the rooms. That's still a good thing. It's not the best, but it's still good. The third thing about good attestations is communication. Is when we're brought involved in project management, we're brought involved in attestations where we've been on phone calls with the integrators, we've been on phone calls with the GCs, we've given documents for guidance purposes on how to get people prepared for an attestation, and they were followed. In other words, access control system works. Intrusion detection system works. Video surveillance works. There's GPP compliance. Cracks are fully sealed. There's a long list of things that need to happen. But we were listened to. We were consulted with. We were called. We were on emails, conference calls. Chris, what do you think of this? Here's a picture of what we're looking at. What do you think? When we're brought involved from the start, it's a good attestation because that means we're not showing up to site, turning around and going, gotta go home. We'll see you guys soon. And it did actually happen, and it has happened before. In fact, just recently, say about 2 weeks ago. That's the good. The bad is that you don't have stuff ready. So number 1 bad thing is you don't have things ready. You don't have doors hung. It's a pretty big one. You don't have all the cracks fully sealed. You don't have epoxy coated or sealed floors. Your phase 1 footprint is not fully sealed. You've got exposed walls that are not covered in food grade paint. You've got ceiling tiles that are broken. You've got conduit that's not run properly, wires hanging down, you name it. That's a bad attestation. You could probably still do the attestation, but I know, and I will tell you, Health Canada will not like it, and they'll flag certain things. I can prepare you for it. Can't force you to not do one. I could walk away, because there is reputation involved, but the point is, you could probably still do the attestation. Health Canada may flag a few things. You say sorry, tuck your tail between your legs, get it fixed, send them a picture, still get a license. It's still bad. Number 2 bad thing is that the systems don't work. We're faking things, which is next to impossible to do now. So under the ACMPR, you're showing logging to and from any room, cultivation room, subdivision C rooms, cannabis present rooms. You have to show logging to and from. Those logs better prove that. Under the Cannabis Act, not so much. Again, we're not logging to and from, but you still have to prove through the access control logs you're restricting access into cannabis present areas. So number 2 bad thing, systems don't work. We go on site, we can't review the video surveillance. We don't know if it gives optimal images around the exterior. We don't know if the IR illumination is bouncing off the floors and causing flare. We don't know any of that stuff. We're literally blind. And the only time we know if it's good or not is a week later when we get the video exports or when we get that intrusion detection log that doesn't show what we need. The third bad thing is that we're not brought involved at all. We're literally called, hey, Chris, can you come out, give us an attestation? We know you didn't design the system. We know you haven't seen the site, but believe me, we're compliant. We know exactly what we're doing. And I fly out with my team, and we show up, and the very first day, instead of filming, we're scrambling. We're trying to get stuff done. I'm saying, guys, hang your doors. Where's your signage? You're not really compliant in this room because your cracks are not fully sealed. There's a whole number of things that can go wrong the day of the attestation. It's still bad because it means I have to wait around for a day. Me and my team are just standing there going, we gave you a punch list of things that you need to know and things you need to do. Should have been done earlier. No harm, no foul. But you're only giving us one day to the attestation now. What if it snows? What if it rains? What if you just can't get stuff done? I can't tell you how many attestations I've been on. Actually, I can. It's about 43 that I've been on, where you show up to site and you're just walking into a construction zone. I mean, when I keep harping on doors not being hung, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. I don't want to tell you how many times I've seen that. It's not right. It's not good. It's a bad attestation. Not only does it disrupt the attestation, and when I do hosting a video, I do unscripted attestations, it interrupts my flow, but we have to wait around. It's kind of time wasted. You've got a whole video crew and myself standing around and my team. You know, we can't review logs. We have to wait around to film. We have to wait for doors to be hung. We're kind of just standing outside enjoying the weather or sitting inside a dirty office wondering, what do we do next? Okay? So, those are the top 3 bad things that can happen in that attestation. The ugly is that none of the stuff that was supposed to be done is done, but it also can't be done. Number 1 on the list is things that are missing that just won't be there. Example, perhaps there's been some times where electric strikes have not been installed on the doors. Yes, we know they're going to be there eventually, but for whatever reason, when we show up to the attestation, they're not installed. We weren't told about it, and we can't show them on video. We can't hide that. We can't say to Health Canada, we're restricting access in this door, except when there's a stiff wind and the door's going to be blown open. Why? Because there's no electric strikes installed in the frame. Can't hide that. That's a ugly attestation. We're not restricting access. We're not showing Health Canada what we need because stuff can't be installed. That's number 1. Number 2, ugly attestation is that the client says, okay, no problem, or the GC or whomever's in charge of the site says, we don't care. Fine, we don't have electric strikes. Just do the attestation. Fine, we don't have conduit everywhere. Fine, we don't have cracks fully sealed. Fine, we don't have our floor fully sealed. Who cares? We have investors to answer to. You will move forward with the attestation because we're paying you to do so. You know that we're non-compliant. I know that you're non-compliant, but you're still forcing me to do it. I'm going to have to tell Health Canada the areas that are non-compliant. I can't hide that. That's an awful attestation to be on. That's an ugly attestation because number 1, it affects our reputation. Number 2, I'm attesting to something I know is not correct. And number 3, Health Canada's going to be pissed. They're going to be downright pissed, actually. They're probably going to come back and eventually say, why did you give us an attestation? You're nowhere near being ready. Why are you wasting our time? It has happened, by the way, unfortunately. And some people have had to redo their attestation. Health Canada's almost come flat out and said, it doesn't appear you really get it. We highly recommend you hire consultants. Hence, we were brought involved and had to change a lot of things to be compliant. The third ugly thing is the RMIs that come back. Now, I'm not talking about 15 or 20. I'm talking about 80. Yes, it has happened before where we did an attestation. We tried to make it happen. It wasn't fully compliant, but we tried to make it, work. We made some last minute decisions. We were doing an attestation at 1 o'clock in the morning BC time. I'm from Ontario. That killed me, by the way. I think I was even talking a different language at one point in time on that attestation video. The point is that Health Canada came back and flagged 83 things wrong. That's an ouch. That's a big ouch. We tried to make it happen. We tried to cram it down their throats. They rejected it and then slapped us with 83 RMIs. 83 things that they thought were wrong. That's an ugly attestation. How do you avoid a bad or an ugly attestation? I've already alluded to it. Get your stuff done right. Get your consultants in order. Listen to your consultants. Discuss with them. Communicate. Prove to your consultants that you're good to go. And before I even show up to site, if I'm the one doing your attestation, I would have known everything I needed to know to make it work. Whether it be pictures, whether it be videos, whether it be conference calls, tell me what's not ready. And I'll be honest with you and tell you what you can or cannot show. What you should or should not show. Good, bad, and ugly, I can tell you right now, the good is, and I mentioned this before in another video, the good is my record is getting a site licensed in 2 weeks. As in, we sent the attestation in, 2 weeks later they got a license. Unheard of. Never happened again in this industry, and happened about 1.5 years ago. That's because the client knew their stuff. They were ready to go, 100%. Listen to us. We did the video. It rocked. The bad is a license that's issued in 3 months. So the average is 4 to 6 weeks to get a license if it's good or even just acceptable. The bad is a little bit longer. I could say for sure there's a number of attestations that I did last year where things weren't necessarily right. Client tried to force it. Health Canada came back. They're still not licensed. And it's cost them to have to pay a lot of money to redo a lot of things. As an example and hint, they're using wooden tables. Mention it's not good. Forced to go ahead. They tried to hide it. Health Canada picked up on it. They now have to replace all the wooden tables with stainless steel. That's an example of bad. Ugly? Ugly are the sites that still aren't licensed. And Health Canada just keeps coming back with more RMIs. You could tell Health Canada does not like the site for whatever reason. They just keep coming back. What about this? What about that? First round is 80 questions. Second round is 17. Third round is 67. Fourth round is 20. Fifth round is one juggernaut of a question. That's just one question that could potentially make the client redo the entire site. So, don't fall into the bad. Don't fall into the ugly. Health Canada will not tolerate bad attestations or ugly attestations anymore. They've seen enough of my face, 53 times. They've seen enough of other consultants' faces. They will not tolerate, especially in the Cannabis Act, sites that are not ready to go. They've had it. They've done it. They've licensed it before. It doesn't mean they like it, and they certainly won't tolerate it moving forward. More information on attestations, go ahead and watch another video that I produced. It gives you some insight as to what you require, prepare you for an attestation, what happens the day of, how Health Canada views them, all that fun stuff. Nonetheless, Chris Bezanoy, CSB Security Inc. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next video.